Detroit Den 313. We are back, Stephen Will, talking that Detroit Lions football. Before we get started, you know what to do. Bang that subscribe button. Don't forget the bell icon so you don't miss any of our new content. Steve, tell them what we're talking today.
Something interesting going down Tuesday in Ford Field or
Yes,
Allen
sir.
Park, I should say. It's a couple, tomorrow. Ennis Rakestraw, quarterback in Missouri, an official visit with the Detroit Lions.
Yes, sir.
Not overly surprised. I think he's one of the more bigger names compared to some of the other names I've seen on the top 30 visit list, but
Mhm.
kind of, I don't want to say fizzled out, but I know he was in a lot of Detroit Lions mock drafts at 29, and then kind of he slid away. Haven't heard anything about him in a while, and now he pops back up. So Ennis Rakestraw, official visit Tuesday tomorrow with the Detroit Lions. Will, how do you feel about that?
I love to see him coming to town, man. I like Ennis Rakestraw. I like his game. When I watch the film, he's twitched up, man. That's what I like. I like these guys that are twitched up. I know I've gotten a lot of flack about some of my opinions and some of the people that I like in the draft so far and some of the people that I don't like. And I think there's been a little bit of misconceptions or misunderstandings about what I'm saying about certain guys. And I actually was going to do an episode on this, but I'm gonna just lay it out, and maybe you can put a little baby version of them in the corner of our thumbnail. But before we get and really hammer Ennis Rakestraw, I want to say something about Kool-Aid McKinstry. Um,
Oh boy.
yeah, I want to say something about and I didn't say we didn't talk about this ahead of time. I didn't even let Steve know that I was going to do this because I was kind of debating on whether I was going to or whether we were going to just do an episode about it. But I want to say this about Kool-Aid, man. Kool-Aid is a good football player, right? And if you go back and watch our episode, I had to, when I saw some of the comments you guys were dropping in the comment section, I had to go back and rewatch the episode. Did I say that Kool-Aid was trash or something? What's going on here? So,
you
so
flirted with the idea a little bit. I'm not going
no,
to
I
say,
didn't.
yeah,
No, I
yeah.
didn't. So
Well,
I said you got to rewatch it. I would even caution you to rewatch it before you say whatever you're gonna say. Because only reason why I say that is this. Um, I said multiple times in that episode that Kool-Aid is gonna be a solid corner in the NFL. And that's what I believe. So I'm not saying that he's trash. I'm not saying that he's not any good, but I am saying that when I compare him to what I like in guys like Quinyon Mitchell and Nate Wiggins, those are the dudes in this draft to me. So when we're talking about 29, do I want Kool-Aid McKinstry, a solid corner? That I know he's got some foot stuff going on, but honestly, guys, that are when you guys talk about that foot stuff, it's he had a fracture that he didn't even know that he had. So
not a big deal.
let's not make it like the dude is breaking down or he's got like this crazy injury history. Not so let's not even. I don't want to go too deep in saying this is like pretending like he's got an injury history. But at the end of the day, he's a solid player. For me, there's just other things that I want because I don't know that he's going to come in and start over a Meek Roberson. I don't know that he's going to come in and start over Emmanuel Mosley. So we're going to draft a guy who's going to be a depth piece and could ultimately step into the role of the starter throughout the upcoming season or next season. Or there may be some guys out there that are going to start right now, or there may be some guys that offer that positionless football that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell talk about. That's it. The guy's a good football player. He's not trash. I just don't particularly want him at 29. If any of the guys, if you watch the episodes that we talk about, are available, that's it. So I just wanted to clear the air on that. That being said, back to Ennis Rakestraw. Ennis Rakestraw to me is a guy that I do like. I like him because he's twitched up. I like him because he plays the game with a physical nature and a swagger about him. And I like that he plays good man-to-man coverage. Now, if you're asking me if I want Ennis Rakestraw at pick 29, answer is no. The
No.
answer is no. So I'm not dogging him. I'm not saying that he's a trash player. I like his game. I think Missouri had an awesome defense, and I think that he was one of the staples of the defense. But what I will say about Ennis Rakestraw that I don't feel that some people are saying about Kool-Aid McKinstry is he does have some injury issues. He had a growing issue, ACL. He had an abdominal issue that set him out of the bowl game that he played with all season. So the injury history, his frame is a little bit small. Those are all things that worry me. But if you're talking about an Ennis Rakestraw at pick 61, maybe I'm in. At pick 29, it's a no for me. Steve, how do you feel about Ennis Rakestraw?
I like his size. I don't love his speed. 4.51, not overly fast, but he's 5'11". What do we got here? 5'11", one. We'll round up. We'll be nice and call him 185 pounds.
Mhm.
Maybe he had a light breakfast the morning he weighed in. Don't overly love his speed. I don't see first round talent. I'll just be honest. Like, I think he's deserving of a visit. I think he's a really good corner. I think he'd be a better corner in the second round if that's the case. And I'm kind of trying to prepare myself for a situation where we're in Detroit on draft night and we don't make a pick in the first round. I really starting to feel that that's going to be the route we take.
Yeah.
Who's going to move up and trade for us? I've thrown it out there a little bit before. I think the Chargers are a team who's going to go overly aggressive. They're, new coach. They got a good young quarterback that's one of the tops in the league. They have no weapons. They've let all their weapons go or traded them to the Bears. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams going to the Jets. Like, they have no weapons. Austin Eckler's in Washington. Like, I don't know what they're going to do on offense. So I think they're going to take a receiver, and I think they're going to want to move back into the first round for another playmaker at 29. And Detroit could be a team that, would be a perfect trade partner. I think they have pick 37. So I'm kind of preparing myself for the Lions to move back. That's just a guess, educated guess, just looking at teams they're picking in the draft and what's going on. So I don't like Rakestraw in the first round. Here's what I seen. I had to find my notes because the last time I watched game film on him was probably a month and a half ago. So he is the one thing I really noticed is he likes to use his hands.
Mm-hmm.
He gets very handsy with wide receivers. If you know how this offense works in the NFL, it's a problem. That's a walking 15-yard penalty. I'm not saying it's not something that's not coachable. It's not something that can't be fixed, but I think it's a problem. On top of that, his injuries, his not overly whelming workout at the combine, his not overwhelming 40 time. I don't see first round talent. That's just how I feel.
Yeah. I'll say when I watch him on film, his film stands out to me. I like his film. I like the things that I see on film. In the Pajama Olympics, I wasn't overly impressed with his numbers and everything either. But I think sometimes, man, some of these guys are just football players. They get it done on the football field when it's trying to play football, and they're not necessarily 40-yard dash guys. I've gotten hammered a little bit for liking Terrion Arnold for that same reason. He ran a 4.5, and you guys talk about how he runs, but he's also a guy that hasn't even been doing this cornerback thing for that long. I think that he's got a lot of upside, so I think that he's still ascending where guys like Kool-Aid are pretty much they're pretty polished and they are what they are outside of, that next step of being a professional and learning a little bit of professional tricks of the trade. They're not really truly just learning the niches of the position still at an infancy stage where some of these guys are. So I just think that with Ennis's injury history, which
Speaking
is
of that, real quick, you mentioned the groin. He also tore his ACL in 2021.
Yeah, so I said ACL growing and that abdominal issue is three that stick out, in my mind. But yeah, that the injury history, man, his frame and along with the injury history, because sometimes you get these slender guys, man, they're built to last. They have no problems, but the injuries history, his frame, I do believe he gets a little bit handsy too. I like it at the line of scrimmage, but he has had moments to where he has had some penalties in college. Those are all reasons for me. I see first round traits, but those are all reasons for me that I wouldn't want to pull the trigger on him in the first round, unless, man, there was a crazy run on corners. But there's a lot of guys. I said it before and I'll say it again. There's a few guys that I like, some that have first round talent to me, some that are second and third round guys that I would rather. And this is another thing too when it came to just some of these guys that I'm talking about. When I say I like them better, sometimes I mean that instead of drafting Kool-Aid McKinstry at pick 29, I would rather have whichever defensive edge rusher is left out of that group that we've said that we like, and I'm not going to rename their names because go back and watch the episode that we did on the edge rushers or any of the edge rushers we talked about. You can look through the thumbnails. You ain't even got to watch to figure it out. But any of that cluster of edge rushers that we said that we really like, plus one of these other corners. So if you're telling me I can go get, a Chop Robinson, and I can also have Max Melton, and I can also have Mikey Sainristil, or I can also have a Renario Green. Then I'm like, man, does that supersede just having Kool-Aid McKinstry? That's what I'm saying. It wouldn't make Kool-Aid McKinstry isn't moving the needle to me so much that I would rather just have him instead of him and Chop Robinson, if that makes sense. So, guys, when we're talking about this, it's about the depth of the draft. There's a lot of receivers to me. There's quite a few cornerbacks to me. I see a lot of talent in those spaces, and I don't think that we necessarily have to rush unless it's one of our guys that we really like. So, Ennis Rakestraw is a guy that intrigues me. I think it would be a little bit of boom or bust. You could get a guy that's gonna end up. He just had a couple of bad situations with his body, and he's gonna end up being healthy in the NFL. Or you could draft a guy at 29 and he spend most of his time, as Steve says, wearing hoodies instead of shoulder pads. So I think it's not worth the risk to me, but that's just my opinion.
I don't think this draft is a time to gamble. I think that's what Rakestraw is, not just from a talent perspective, but from availability. I don't want to say he's his age, and he's still a very young guy. I don't want to say his body's breaking down, but he's starting to, in college, show a trend of being injured, abdominal injuries, ACLs. I mean, we're talking some major stuff. You tear an ACL, we saw it with Emmanuel Mosley, came back, tore the complete opposite one. It just kind of happens, just the way the world spins, I guess. I don't think this is a draft to gamble in. We gambled a little bit last year, in my opinion. My feelings toward Broderick Martin, Hendon Hooker, two guys that we took in positions where I think we could have got some starters for some depth. I want this draft to be injury-free. I want it to be injury-free. I want these guys to come in day one, be ready to go. No questions asked. It's a pass for me on Rakestraw in the second, maybe third round. I don't know if he falls to the third, but I'm probably a little bit more comfortable there.
Steve, was that Adam Schefter?
that was Brad Holmes. He was calling me to ask me, why are you talking shit about my guy Ennis Rakestraw?
Yeah, no doubt, man. Appreciate the visit, man, of him coming to town. Maybe he slides, man, due to some of the things that we talked about. If we get him, for a value deal like Brad likes to do sometime, I would probably be in. But outside of that, man, at pick 29, it's a no for me.
Yeah. So there it is, guys. We're just kind of going over a little bit on Tuesday. Tomorrow, Ennis Rakestraw has an official visit with the Detroit Lions. Kind of interesting, a name we started to hear a lot of after the NFL season ended. He was kind of on some mock drafts. Him and Darius Robinson, I feel like, were just mock draft to us nonstop. It was one or the other. Flip a coin. One of those guys was mocked to the Detroit Lions. So now he has an official visit. So leave it in the comments. Let us know how you feel. Thumbs up, thumbs down. How do you feel about Ennis Rakestraw? Hit that like button if you're new here. Stick around, subscribe. We'll be back later with some more content, guys.
Peace.